because the king is not a politician. He's just a king who looks after the people. That's why he survived 45 years on the throne, because he's not elected and re-elected or re-elected. He's there to perform the duty by birth that he was given. So he has to point out things that are wrong in the society. He points out things that are the recipe for conflicts. He points out things that needs to be corrected. That's the ultimate goal. Whether politicians or whoever take it or quote it out of context is a different story. But as a father in your house, you point out what is not right. How your kids or members of the family interpret is a different story, but you would like them to quote it in its correct context. So I'm coming here as a traditionalist that who happens to be delegated by His Majesty to different areas. And this year alone, I was sent to Northwest. One of the chiefs passed on at the Ziras Pakurusi. I had to share some of the words and expectations that the royalty would expect from traditional leaders throughout the world. In this country, we have the House of Traditional Leaders, but I believe they haven't fulfilled what we expect them to do. I was saying that not once or twice. We expect traditional house and leadership to embark on a drive to educate our young people of the value of the presence of the traditional leadership within the societies, because it lasts longer than the political elected leadership. So it has that sustainability and the value and the reason for the existence, because otherwise this peacekeeping cannot be realized within the society, deeply rural or within our society, different villages, if we do not take cognizance of their existence in the societies and their role in the society. Because it's the difference between an elected for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, depending on each country. Because the leader will be very good, but within 5 years, the leader is gone because the new leader, you try to follow up, then the new leader will tell you, I'm new, I don't know what my predecessor has done, I'm starting afresh. So what happens to the community in terms of sustainability and continuity? Then it breaks the chain. So hence, I really appreciate this drive, because it digs in the community, in the civilians, because it's where, like churches, church leaders, they are part of that, because it is sustainable. You can rely on them, because there is continuity in terms of what we're trying to do to plant peace within our society. So this college is doing a very important role. I don't know if Prof. The rest of us can imagine or the way, the impact that it has. I'm not sure if it's been advertised and promoted correctly, and it generates enough, or invites more funding to drive it throughout the world, not just in Africa. I really appreciate that this is Africa, but throughout the world. It should be a world issue. It is in any case, but what I'm trying to say is the impact it has, it goes beyond political ideologies. It's God's will that people must stay and live in peace, like in everybody's home. This is an important drive. We really appreciate as a royal family, like and the rest of our traditional leaders who might be here, nobody is against peace. So we talk peace. However, the truth must be told. Like I'm saying, I'm getting to the speech now, of what affects us, what we believe affects the rest of the country, of the world, that we need to take care of as we work towards peacekeeping, like we had a discussion before I came here, that we need to employ the tools to mitigate all these conflicts, to make sure we win the battle. Let me get to His Majesty's speech as it is written. I'll just read it, and I will just stop when I have to stop as it's been prepared. I just hope I'm not boring you, but it's important to understand where do we come from and what do we think. I didn't make a mistake by giving me a privilege to come and stand here and present him. This is addressed to the St. Augustine College of South Africa International Training Program for Civilian Peace Building Capacity. While he greeted His Excellency Petro Giovanni Donati, I'll apologize if I don't pronounce correctly, the Italian ambassador in South Africa, really appreciate. Esteemed members and staff of the St. Augustine College of South Africa, participants, jumbo to you all. In a week's time, Africa will once again celebrate the formation of the Organization of African Unity, OAU, now called the African Union. This year marks the 53rd anniversary of the birth of this important instrument for liberation, unity, peace, and prosperity of the African people. As we celebrate this milestone, we don't only look with pride the journey we have traveled in our quest for liberation and economic freedom, but we also take lessons from our past mistakes, which resulted in some of the worst conflict among each other, notably one being the Rwanda genocide of 1994, which has been referred to. Our experience of the past 53 years has taught us that there cannot be peace without development or development without peace. Hence, these two are not a choice for us, but a must in order to achieve what founders of the OAU dreamt about. Brothers and sisters, decades that followed the end of the Cold War were marked by a significant increase in instability of the African continent. Especially after 2010, there has been increase in social violence, violence around elections, intra-party conflict, and cross-border extremist groups attacks. Recent examples of such instability included the killing of students in Kenya, crises around elections in Burundi and Lesotho, activities of Boko Haram in Nigeria and some neighboring countries, violence in South Sudan, and violent service delivery protests in South Africa. In South Africa today, all media platforms talk about killing of politicians in intra-party conflict. These, we are told, occur because of, among other things, people fighting for government tenders, citizens' unhappiness about lack of service delivery, and forthcoming local government elections. These killings, which occur in rural and urban areas, including areas such as hostels, and carelessly described as political murder or political violence. As I have argued in other platforms, says the King, there is always a danger in glorifying what, in my view, are clear acts of criminality. One of the legal definitions of political murder is the unlawful use of force or violence against people or property in order to coerce or intimidate the government or the civilians population in furtherance of political or social objectives. On the other hand, political violence is a common means used by people and governments around the world to achieve political goals. Many groups and individuals believe that their political systems will never respond to their political demands. As a result, they believe that violence is not only justified but also necessary in order to achieve their political objectives. If we agree with the above definitions, how does a murderer orchestrated by a greedy tenderpreneur who hires killers to remove a stumbling block to riches becomes political? How does it happen that it can become political? In case of KwaZulu-Natal, while one understands that what is happening triggers fears that KwaZulu-Natal might be plugged back into the sad situation of the mid-80s and the late 90s. However, it is dangerous to misdiagnose the current situation. So, what is the real situation here? Is it true that since 1994 there has been peace in South Africa? Do people really believe that the absence of war means peace? That only parties in conflict can negotiate peace? Do you agree? That only parties that in conflict can negotiate peace? Is it fair to commentators to blame political murder and violence on the police or the justice system? And is it possible to deploy police at party branch meetings so as to prevent intra-party killings, knowing that some killings happen during or just after such meetings? Can the deployment of soldiers in hostels solve the real problem? Or are we suggesting that a hostel killing is worse than a township or rural killing? Hence, it requires military intervention? These are questions. These are the questions we need to answer. Honestly, without succumbing to political gimmicks and academic grandstanding, as it is normally the case when these issues are raised. Brothers and sisters, in answering some of these questions, in 2012, I launched the KwaZulu-Natal Public Peace Process. That's what the King did. The initiative set in motion measures seeking to cajole all major stakeholders to work towards a lasting resolution to any violent conflict in the province and elsewhere in South Africa. Importantly, the initiative acknowledges that first, peace is not an event but a process. That it has nothing to do with public relations and sponsored initiatives. This is important as in recent history, we have seen parties and governments all over the world reducing peace building to the signing of treaties and accords. Sadly, our recent history has proven that peace among institutions does not necessarily translate into citizen peace. Secondly, the initiative acknowledges that there is always a human dimension to conflict and peace building. That conflict is not just a clash of institutions, and that it's not true that only parties in conflicts should find a solution. It's not true. In the case of KwaZulu-Natal, we hear three parties. That's an example. The African National Congress, the Inkatha Freedom Party, and the National Freedom Party talk about their exclusive meetings aimed at finding the solution. We have here parties stipulating conditions for such exclusive meetings. Lastly, the KwaZulu-Natal Public Peace Initiative, perhaps more importantly, acknowledges that killing don't only affect political parties in conflict, but also damage social cohesion, as well as the KwaZulu-Natal brand, thus affecting investment and development. These are just examples and confirming what the ambassador was saying, that the center point here is the civilians that are at the receiving end of any conflict, irrespective how it started and who orchestrated it. It's against this background, I congratulate the St. Augustine College of South Africa for its international training program for civilian peace-building capacity. There is no doubting in my mind that, like the KwaZulu-Natal Public Peace Process, this initiative acknowledges that at the heart of the public peace process is sustained dialogue. There must be a sustained dialogue. Systematic, prolonged discussion among small groups of citizens committed to changing relationship, ending conflict, and building peace. I think this is what the university is engaged with, Prof. Since I had the program, and I had a look at the program, what's going to happen throughout the week, I think this is already, King is just affirming. Your efforts contribute towards a peaceful and prosperous Africa. Participants to this program play an important role in transforming conflictual relationship between people into peaceful relationships. And for that, we applaud you as participants. Again, I have no doubt that your effort will ensure that Africa and her people are at peace, with unity and prosperity being the main goal. With these few words, I congratulate you and invite you all to come and work with traditional institutions in our province as well, as I'm sure that they do need skills around peace building and post-conflict management. This program confirms that one of the most important aspects of social, political, and economic reconstruction is the ability and the willingness of communities to hold discussions in pursuit of finding meaningful and lasting solutions to existing problems. The key concept here is dialogue, 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 and